Okay. So what's your name?
My name is Jesus Vega.
Okay. And what is your current profession?
Currently, I'm a district manager for
Okay.
ADP.
Nice. Alrighty. And so I chose you because you're someone that I basically entered this field with. I started working in ABA with you at the same time. I also feel that you and I are very like-minded and that our values kind of align in the same way. I know that you like no longer pursue this field, but I do think that you're someone very knowledgeable and I like learning from you. And I always like to know about your perspective, and I would just like to learn a little bit more about your thoughts on ABA therapy.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's do it.
So how long have you known about ABA therapy?
Well, about ABA itself,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a few years, just because I have some cousins who have autism.
Okay.
So I was always aware that they would do some type of class or therapy that would help them.
Okay. That's good. And so do you know about the main principles of ABA therapy?
Um, I'll give you a breakdown of what I believe the principles were.
Okay.
I would say starting out with reinforcement. Reinforcement is a huge section when it comes to ABA. It encourages, I feel like, the desired behaviors, and just that repetition really helps them stick to it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Also, like, figuring out antecedent behavior, just because you know if they're doing something that might get them to have a strong behavior, if you can just catch those behaviors before that intense behavior starts, it's just a huge tip for de-escalation. And just ABA, just taking data, having all that data, like you being able to track that data is huge. I feel like, because you're able to like set up interventions or just tailored to the client itself.
Okay.
Another thing would be task analysis, just because I really think it's huge to break those steps into smaller steps. Sometimes it just makes things easier for them to understand, which helps them learn faster. And the last one would be kind of like generalization. I feel like that's a huge part of ABA, just being able for the client to take those skills and take them anywhere they go is huge. It's just huge for them to like work in their behaviors anywhere they go. But I think those would be some of the top core principles for ABA.
Okay, thank you. I like how you mentioned reinforcement because that does bring us into our next question. I believe that reinforcement is one of the biggest parts of ABA therapy. And I just wanted to see if you have any knowledge of how reinforcement plays in the behaviors of children. Like how would that be exhibited? Are you able to show an example of like what reinforcement is and how it can help with the children's behaviors?
Yeah. Well, practically reinforcement is huge. How said it just makes them easier to understand that that's the behavior we're looking for. For example, maybe we are doing trials on a client and the client finally for the first time he gets the trial correct 100%, so like as accurate as he can be. We'd obviously give him a high reinforcement. If it's food, if it's a reinforcement, then we'd give him more food. Or if it's let's say media or playtime, we'd obviously extend that time just so that client is able to recognize that that's an exact behavior we're looking for, and that the reinforcement would be way more if that's what we get.
Okay, nice. And then I know that you also talked about antecedent behaviors. That's where you kind of just figure out like what the behaviors look like to prevent anything kind of negative from happening to one of the children. And I wanted to ask you if you know about the ABC method, which is antecedent, behavior, and consequence.
Somewhat.
Okay. Are you able to kind of tell us what you know about it?
Mm-mm-mm. Yeah. So like the ABC method would be like, so at the antecedent, it kind of examines what happens before.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say strong behavior happens. From what I remember, you break it down into like those three sections. So the antecedent, let's figure out what happened before that might have caused that reaction, and what the behavior was. For example, hand-making, and then the consequence will happen after that behavior. So yeah, it just kind of makes it easier to figure out what the behavior was, or what the antecedent was, but by breaking it down into those sections. That way we're able to modify and understand the behavior.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. And then we're going to move on to the next question. So in ABA therapy, it's applied in various settings. And I know you mentioned about generalization, which basically is like for the client to be able to have those skills that we teach them and that they learn in different environments. So how would you go about deciding like where they should have that therapy? Obviously, those skills are skills that we want them to have throughout all their settings, but sometimes kids have like higher behaviors in certain areas or lower in certain areas. How would you go about deciding where is the best place to start the therapy?
I would start where they feel the most comfortable, like their safest spot. That way they can get the behavior done down, and it will reduce intense behaviors being in the spot where they feel the safest at.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would be the best way to start, having them comfortable. It would make it easier for everybody. Let's see. So when you're working with children with autism, how do you think that ABA therapy specifically targets and helps improve their skills like communication and social interactions?
I feel like ABA is very it has customized goals. Mm-hmm. So every client or every patient has a different strength and weakness that they need to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, how do you think that ABA therapy targets to improve skills like communication and social interactions?
Okay, yeah. So, how I mentioned, it just kind of focuses on the patient itself, because each patient is unique. Mm-hmm. So, ABA really does target specific skills that they need to work on.
Okay, yeah. I would say ABA therapy focuses on communication, by teaching them how to interact with other people, right?
Yeah, social skills.
Okay, yeah, that works. Well, those are all my questions. Is there anything else about ABA therapy that you wanted to mention? Maybe something that you like or something that you dislike about the therapy or something that you've learned?
Yeah, I feel like the time I spent given that therapy, I was able to see how huge the therapy is with our patients. You definitely do see the skill growth and the social skill growth. It's a life-changing thing that people do for these kids. So I really do like the study of ABA, and I really appreciate the work people go into it, because sometimes it's not an easy job, but it does change the world for them.
Yeah, I think that too. I think ABA therapy is very important for kids with autism or even adults with autism who still do ABA therapy. And then, is there anything else that you would like to add? Maybe a story about an experience you've had in ABA therapy that kind of impacted you, or something that you didn't like about working with kids with autism?
I would say, well, I have a lot of stories, but I would say that you just have to be really patient, and it's kind of like a plant or a tree. You have to just you water it every day, and you'll start seeing it grow. At my time at Hope Ridge, I definitely had the harder kids to work with, but I really did see a change of growth in both of them. And I feel like that's something I'm going to take I'm going to take those memories with me, for the rest of my life. It was really impactful for me to see the changes I was able to create within those kids.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, I think ABA therapy is something that impacts everyone, not just the patients themselves. But it's a learning experience for everyone all around.
Yeah, it was.
All right. Well, that is all. Thank you so much for answering my questions.
Of course. Thank you.